morning for some and a sad morning for others as we have eliminated a few more teams in the chase for gold balls in Tennessee this year. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the 615 Prep Scoreboard presented by Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. Chris Brooks along with Scott Burton and Cam Reed to take you through those scores from that third round action from last night, the Division I quarterfinals and the semifinals in Division II. Guys, I had to get some coffee this morning. It was just that cold. So
I was going to ask if you were able to thaw out. Um,
That's the right word. I mean, I'm just now starting to be able to feel my toes again.
It was quite cold last night, but didn't mean the football was bad. It was quite hot on the gridiron as well. So let's get through some scores, shall we?
Nice segue.
All right, so let's pull the scoreboard up and get you started this morning. Blackman at Oakland in that rematch of their region game from last year. Oakland, and they struggled a little bit with Blackman early on, but the Patriots pulled away 48-23 to improve to 12-1 and advance to the semifinals again for what seems like the 25th, 28th year in a row, but it's not.
Yeah, and as we thought, the Blaze were a whole lot more game in this matchup than they were the first time around. 14-9 game at halftime, and Oakland seemed to turn it on as they outscored the Blaze 34-14 there in the second half.
Yeah, Blackman slowed the attack down. Actually, Jack Reisner only had 41 yards passing. It was an attempt to kind of slow down the Oakland attack. But again, Eric Taylor, big night, 10 carries, 101 yards, 4 touchdowns. Oakland didn't have any punts and converted two, I think 2 of 3 on fourth down conversions. So stopping Oakland was still a tall task.
Beach a 35-7 winner at Cane Ridge, and it seemed like the Buccaneers were kind of surprised by this result. And then Cane Ridge playing really good football up until this week, but the Buccaneers just put it to them.
Yeah, first shocker for me. Not that they won. We knew that this could be a really good ball game and could go either way. But from the opening setup, guys, Beach dominated this football game. Then, of course, we've talked about it a couple times. The Buccaneers are one of those teams. You know, it's hard to believe that a 12-1 football team can slide under the radar, but they have. And now they're here in the semis with one game away from going to Chattanooga.
I think the move to 6A from 5A kind of with those other traditional teams out there is kind of masked their success, but there's no masking their defense. They held Cane Ridge to 60 yards on the ground. Siobhan Abdullah had 180 yards through the air, but it was the defense and the big three at running back. They combined for 342 yards of the team's 334 yards on the ground. Just a dominating performance by the Beach defense.
Just the formula keeps working for the Buccaneers. Play really good defense, dominate the ground game, and don't make mistakes. And that's what's got them this far. And they're headed out west in the semifinals. They're going to head to Bartlett, who defeated Germantown 16-14. It's all one seeds in the semifinals here, with Maryville traveling to Oakland and Beach traveling to Bartlett.
Yeah, and that's as a when you look at the playoff format and stuff like that, and the way things may change and sort of like that, but you fully expect and you hope that your one seeds get here, because if so, then the playoffs is actually working itself out the way it's supposed to. Of course, as you said, Chris, Oakland Maryville is playing for what seems like the 25th time. I'm super pumped to go see it for the first time myself. And then Beach, I'm not going to call them a Cinderella story because they've won 12 out of 13 games.
No, it's not a Cinderella story here. No. They're not. They may be the belle of the ball, but they're not Cinderella.
Yeah, right, and then they have to go. Now, one thing to keep in note, that one loss for Beach was in week 1 when they went on a big long road trip to Knoxville and lost to Farragut 31-28. You hope that they've picked up a lot of momentum, big wins throughout the year, but I think Coach Crabtree can learn a little bit from that first game, even though it was 13 weeks ago. I look for Beach to be able to go on the road next week and at least come to play and hopefully pull out a win.
Yeah, we all knew that, or we all expected Oakland Maryville to be there. This, I believe, is will be the 9th meeting, the rubber game, right? I think they've each won 4.
Yeah.
It's both of them were almost for them almost rebuilding this year, and it's going to be a really interesting game to see if Oakland can hold serve. And I agree with you, Cam. I think Beach going into Bartlett. I think it's a different Beach team than was at the beginning of the year. This team has an identity. This team has a purpose and knows exactly who they are.
Yeah, one thing to keep a note on that Maryville Oakland game, I believe you are right. I believe this is the ninth time, and this is the rubber match. Every year except last year, the home team won the game. Oakland went on the road last year and beat Maryville.
Yep. Well, let's get into our first set of video highlights, if we would. Let's looking over at 5A with Page-Nolensville running this one back. They had an OT thriller a month ago, and the Knights won that one. The guy who walked that game off gets it started for the Knights here. Samson Johnson finds a hole and goes 25 yards to put Nolensville up 7-0 late in the first. Good night for the Knights to start this one, but this one was far from over. Even the fireworks off in the background. Great night in Nolensville, too. Second quarter, Page has a field goal unit out, but bad snap. Henry Kaysen corrals it, and Eric Hazard's all by his lonesome in the end zone. They turn lemons into lemonade. Tied up
just like 7. Just like you draw it up.
Yeah. 48 seconds later, though, Nolensville responds. It's Eric Harper, and he can fly. Takes the slant route and goes 82 yards to put Nolensville right back out in front, 14-7. On to the second half. Hurd on fourth down. Kaysen gets in from 38 yards out. And Page ties the game up at 14 again. It was that kind of night, back and forth between the two teams. They actually recovered a fumble on the next series and took a 21-14 lead, but here's Kobe Walton, and it's Eric Harper again. 59 yards, and Nolensville ties the game back up at 21 in the third quarter. Watch this next play. Colin Hurd under intense pressure. Defenders in his face, finds Ethan Listman in the flat. He's going to do the rest. His slalom job gets Page up 27-21. But Derek Burrows blocked the extra point for Nolensville to keep it at a 6-point margin for the Patriots. And the Knights with another haymaker response right here. Here's Kobe Walton, another slant route. This time it's Chance Fitzgerald who's got it. 71 yards. Trust me, he scored there. Somebody blocked my shot. 28-27 Nolensville. Page still not done there. It's Kaysen again. He finds the end zone. They're up by 5, and they go for 2. Bird rolls right, and it's Boyce Smith hauling that 2-point conversion in to put the Patriots up 35-28. Still plenty of time left, though. 8:14 to go for the Knights. They get it back, trying to tie the game right here. Hayden Walker steps in front and gets the interception near the goal line. Picking Walton off and stopping Nolensville's drive there. But they weren't done. Patriots tried running some clock. Ball's on the ground. Nolensville's got it. 3 minutes to go, and the Knights have another shot to tie the thing up. But Page's defense holds and is able to get it to fourth down. 4th and goal. Walton working to his right, looking for somebody open. Fires to the end zone. No sirree. Caden Walker says, ball game. He knocks it away. Page is able to run the clock out, and they're going on to the semifinals for the second straight year as they knock out Nolensville for the second straight year, 35-28.
How you feeling after this one? This was an exciting one right down to the wire, and you had a couple big plays to get it done. How you feeling?
Feels great. This is what we wanted. We wanted another piece of NOLA after last time, and we got it, and it feels great.
To have a big hand and 2 defensive stops at the end, for you personally, how cool is that?
It's really cool. I mean, it was just playing football, and when you do, good things happen. We were able to make a big stop for our team, and it worked perfectly. Got the win.
The interception, take me back through that and kind of how that developed and how you saw it.
Our drops this week were straight to we were planning on that like deep slant dig, and I saw it. I turned and the ball was just right there, so I had to catch it, couldn't drop it.
Well, you guys have been in some wild games the last couple of years. Henry County last year was the wildest of them all, and now you get another shot at them. And they get another shot at you guys, honestly. What do you guys have to do to go up there in a tough environment and make it back to state?
We have to play physical. They're a big physical team, and we have to do our jobs, play as a team, limit the mistakes, and we'll be good. We'll be back to Chattanooga.
The way this playoff run has kind of developed for you guys is a little bit different than last year in that you've had to grind out some more games.
Yeah.
How satisfying is that, though, that you're grinding out these close games like that again?
It feels really good because we know when we're not taking the easy, we're not getting the easy way out. We're working our butts off, and we're earning every win. So.
All right, man. How's practice on Thanksgiving morning going to sound?
Sounds great.
All right, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Colin, Thanksgiving morning practice sounds pretty good for you guys, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's been real good just to have another week and just still be alive. So.
Now, the way this game developed, you guys were able to grind out some drives and get points, and then Nolensville will come right back and score on a big play. The way you guys responded to those, how huge was that tonight for your confidence in next week?
Oh, it was very huge. Just having a mindset of just not quitting, and just we all play together and we all know what it takes to win. So really being together and really just being together. So.
Defense also gave you guys a couple of great stops there at the end. What's it like having to watch Caden make two huge defensive plays there at the end?
It's huge because they didn't have their best defensive performance, but just when it comes down in crunch time, making those plays really shows their guts.
Last year, Henry County game was nuts, obviously, and they won another shot at you guys, and you got to go up there to play them in a tough place. What's got to happen for you guys to come out of there with a win and go back to Chattanooga?
We just got to play together. We got to play physical and just have the same mindset we had tonight. Never giving up. There's got to be things thrown at us, but just responding back. So.
It's a cold night, but I guess it's a pretty warm feeling coming out of the way of the win, huh?
Absolutely.
All right. Congratulations. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
As cold as it is, it's got to feel a pretty warm feeling to come in here and get a little bit of revenge for the regular season loss, right?
Yeah, we felt like we should have won the first game. And these guys set their mind to it, was going to win this game. So they played every snap, played hard, and made the plays when they had to.
Caden Walker, two huge defensive plays. The interception to stop one drive, and then the fourth down stop to end another one. How big has he been for your defense?
He's been big on offense and defense all year long, so I'm proud of him. He did a great job. He was where he was supposed to be and made plays.
The way your kids were resilient after the counter punches Nolensville had, big plays to keep tying it up, but your kids just came back and keep grinding out drives and getting points when they need them. How satisfying is that, knowing that they can win a game like that again?
We win a lot of games like that, last week. So it was nice to put some points on the board against Nolensville. They played us tough last two games. So to finally put up some points on them was good. So, I don't know. It was a lot of emotional swings and momentum swings and everything, every which way. So I was just proud of our guys and how they played, and they did a really good job.
Henry County's going to want another shot at you guys after last year. What's it going to take to go up there in that environment? A tough place to play and maybe get another shot at Chattanooga.
We got to have a gutsy game like this. We got to go in and play well, and hopefully we come out on top.
All right, Coach. Thanksgiving morning practice sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Oh, man, that breakfast was something else.
What's on the menu?
Everything.
All right, congratulations, Coach. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, they're going to practice on Thanksgiving morning, just like all those other teams that are playing next Friday, and big for Page to keep rolling along. And the way this game was just trading blows back and forth. These two teams, their rivalry has really accelerated into a really good one. And Nolensville's very talented senior class finishes 12-1 this year. It was a great year for the Knights, but it's going to fall a little short of where they wanted to be. But this Page team, they're finding ways to win again, and much like last year, they're in there. They've got a shot at it.
Yeah, it was kind of a really electric atmosphere, really. Williamson County matchup. And my understanding is that several of the schools around Williamson County split up, actually had a fantasy draft, if you will, of which school was going to support which team. This really came down to who could take advantage of opportunities. Bottom line is Page, they have a bad snap. Turn it into a touchdown, tie the game, get a turnover for a touchdown. Nolensville, with their quick strike capability, kept them in the game, actually put them up ahead, and then kept them in the game when they got behind. But bottom line is when it really came down to it, Page took advantage of the opportunities and overcame the adversity they had. Nolensville just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, you mentioned how fast this is becoming a big rivalry, and anytime you think of rivalries, guys, anytime there's great football, there's going to breed great rivalries. Both of these teams are tremendous football teams. Just felt like Page made a few more plays in crunch time than Nolensville did, and ultimately that ended the night season. But what a season Nolensville had after going 5-7 last year to win the region, make it to the quarterfinals, just to come up a little bit short. They have a lot of talent on that team. I know they have some talent that's coming back next year. I don't think we've seen the last of the Knights. And as far as Page goes, they do get to go back to Henry County, and what a tough matchup that is, and one of the craziest games of the whole season last year in the semifinals. And then, how about my guy, Coach Rathbone? What's on the menu? Everything. That's my kind of answer.
Yeah, he was dealing with some bronchitis last night, actually. So and that's why you heard some coughing from him. But he worked through it, and hopefully he'll feel a little bit better this morning and next week now after getting to practice some more.
A little Patriot on Patriot violence next week.
Yeah, we got quite a bit of that. Several teams that are named Patriots are in the next round in this area. So. Yeah, Page and Henry County run it back, but this time it's going to be up in Paris as Henry County knocked out Springfield 27-19. And Springfield led this game early, but Henry County rallied back before the end of the first half, and they held on in the second.
Yeah, 13-0 Springfield lead to start the game, and then this was actually a score at halftime as well. Scott, I think you may have some more numbers.
Well, not very many, but it was a 27-point second quarter that kind of did in the Yellow Jackets. They trade scores in the second quarter, and then Henry County goes on a 20-0 run to grab the lead at the half. Like you said, Cam, it was just a defensive battle in the second half. Devin Crenshaw did what Devin Crenshaw does. 18-32, 244, added 50 on the ground, but it just wasn't enough as they couldn't find the end zone in the second half.
Yeah. Springfield will finish with a 10-3 record while Henry County improves to 11-2. And here's how that 5A bracket shakes down. Out in East Tennessee, Knoxville West had no trouble with Daniel Boone, and Powell the same with Oak Ridge. So it's Knoxville West traveling to Powell in that Eastern semifinal, while Page heads to Henry County on the western half of that bracket.
Guys, we talked this past week about how good the semifinals in Division II AAA was going to be. We'll get to those a little bit later, but this sets up the same way for me. Any of these four could bring home the gold ball, and both matchups should be just total classic football games.
Slide over to 4A and check out Procone as they keep on rolling. The Firebirds 48-24 winners at Lexington to get their 11th consecutive win after starting at 0-2. Procone has just kept on rolling, and the Firebirds are in the semifinals again. Lexington finishes with a 9-4 mark.
Yeah, just too much offense for the Firebirds against Lexington. 14-3 game at halftime, and then they really poured it on. I believe a late score from Lexington made this one a little bit closer.
Yeah, after that second loss that they had, the loss to NBA, Coach Brunetti, basically, I think, from his post-game talk, kind of lit a fire under the Firebirds. Since then, they've just been on a roll. And it's going to be interesting to see how they can continue to stoke that fire and how far it can take them.
Procone will travel to Haywood on that Western semifinal next week, and it's Anderson County rolled past Greenville 38-14, traveling to Red Bank 48-23 winners over East Hamilton. So, another good set of semifinals here.
Yeah, and I know they're outside of our coverage area, but I just kudos to that Anderson County team, man. They're a team that's had some really good seasons in the last decade, but they seem to always run into Greenville. Well, guys, last night they ran through Greenville. One of their players in a post game interview said that he felt like he unleashed 10 years of emotion. And this Anderson County team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, no matter who stands in their way, guys. They're offensive juggernaut at this point.
Yeah, that Haywood game, that'll be. I think Pearl is going to have to bring everything they can at that game to move on to Chattanooga.
Yeah, and Haywood, a huge win over Milan, 64-14. They really jumped up big. I believe that game was 42-7 at halftime, and what a performance on the offense side of the ball from Haywood. I mean, they're both Pearl and Haywood. It seems like they trade years, Scott. Where one year Haywood will make the finals, and then the next year Pearl Cone will make the finals.
Yeah, it's it wasn't that long ago that, and what kind of concerns me is Pearl continuing to be on the road. The travel does take a toll. I know that I think it was 2 years ago. Perhaps they had to travel out to Milan. Maybe it's 3. And when they were a favored team, and that Milan game, it turned into, unfortunately, to be kind of like the Waterloo of and knocked out a team that was prepped to make a run for the gold ball. I'm kind of interested to see if they can kind of shake off the cobwebs of last year's. Of that game. I know it's a different set of people, but anytime you have to travel, we saw it with Springfield this week when you have to travel so often. It does take a little bit of a toll on your team. Honestly, it's not. There's nothing like being at home.
Right, and you saw that in a lot of matchups. A lot of the there's nothing like being at home. But we saw several matchups this week where it was rematches of first games that actually wound up having to go be played at the same place that the first matchup was played, and it seemed like the visiting teams fared better the second time around than the first time. But unfortunately, in the playoffs, especially in the semifinals, it's extremely rare to get that opportunity to go play somebody you've already played that year. So it's definitely easier to go play somewhere that you've already been compared to in the semifinal rounds, having to go play somewhere that you're completely foreign to and you're really trying to put it together and kind of put a they go. Especially big long road trips like that, a lot of teams like to go about halfway and then they'll stop and have a walkthrough or a meal and then they'll go the rest of the way. But it's definitely difficult to go on the road in the semifinals and try to get that done.
Chris is having some technical difficulties. If you can't tell, our fearless leader had a computer issue. He's struggling, and so we continue to tap dance. If you can't tell. But we don't want to get into games that we haven't covered yet because we know that I'm interested to hear what Cam but I'd like to see the videos and all that accompanies that. So we'll continue to see how that goes. And as I continue to communicate with our fearless leader via group text. But going back to that Beach and Cane Ridge team, that game, really, the Beach has what they call the 3-headed monster out there, and that's Courtney, JP Courtney, Darius Johnson, and Caden Tiemann. Honestly, Cam, what are your thoughts at Beach going at Bartlett and going down to there and being able to take on that team?
Yeah, if there's any chance, at this point of the year, you try to get as much film as you can on an opponent, and that ultimately plays a big key in how well you can prepare for a semifinal matchup. If I was Coach Crabtree and Beach, of course, most of the time you get the previous week's film when you swap film with the coach. But I would reach out to Brentwood. I would reach out to some of the other schools that have played Bartlett. Reach out to Centennial even. Try to get as much film as you can on them. And honestly, you don't see it a lot, but I would honestly reach out to Germantown and see if I couldn't get that first matchup too, because both games this year, Bartlett's offense has put up good numbers all year, except really for 2 games, and they won this past Friday, but they lost in the regular season to Germantown by lost in the regular season 17-16, and they won last night 16-14. So Germantown held that offense to 16 points in both games. If Beach holds them to 16 points, I really like Beach's opportunities to win that game. So I would reach out to Germantown, but you don't see that a lot because of them being in the same region. A lot of the times, region coaches kind of have an understanding not to cross each other. So that's one thing that I would do if I was Beach. But of course, with it being the Friday after Thanksgiving, I would definitely attempt. If I was Coach Crabtree, I would probably do that normal routine of let's see, Bartlett's pretty much downtown Memphis. I would probably try to stop somewhere, maybe in Jackson, and have a walkthrough, and maybe catch a little food, and then drive the rest of the way in and try to get there early, because it's difficult on those big long road trips. But to me, it's important to get there early enough to where kids can kind of get comfortable.
Yeah.
Last night at the game that I was at, I was kind of worried because East Nashville showed up a little bit later than what most teams showed up. They pulled in about 5:10, 5:05-ish, and most of the time you see teams get there, 2.5 hours before, and kind of have 45 minutes to get ready and whatnot. But I was kind of worried about that last night for East Nashville.
Yeah, fashionably late. What really gets me, and hold on, folks, he's working his way back. If it turns out that we can't get this back and going, the stream going, we will end it, and then we will we'll put it out, because we do want to make sure we get you the highlights and the videos and the discussion that you guys deserve on the Scoreboard Show. And it may just turn away from, this is the danger of live streaming when you have all of us remote and sketchy internets and things of that nature. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. We're efforting is, I think, the word to get Chris back. But it's definitely live TV or live streaming or whatever you want to call it. I made a mistake one time and call on a podcast and told people to keep their questions coming in, and Ingle Martin came back and said, "What, are operators standing by, Scott?" So he got me there.
Yeah, it's the difficulties of doing a live show, and that's part of the reason why we've not fully committed to moving the Mid-State 48 to a live show. I know we had to go live this past Wednesday, but we do record that show on Tuesday nights, and then put that out to you guys on Wednesday morning, just to make sure that we don't have technical issues like this. But hit his theme music, folks, because he is back.
Well,
he let us drive.
Yeah, how's that feel for you? How'd that work for you?
We're not the ultimate judge. It'll be the people that.
Yeah, he didn't willingly let us drive. He just jumped out the car.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes technology can get the best of us. It got the best of me there, so apologies for the technical errors right there. But it's a good time to tell you that we need to hear from our sponsor, Fifth Gear Technology Solutions. So let's hear from them now.
In today's business world, it can be expensive to maintain a staff of experienced and knowledgeable IT personnel, especially for a small or medium-sized business. You don't have the time to monitor your own systems or stay up on the latest cybersecurity or technological solutions while trying to service your customers. That's why you should contact Fifth Gear Technology Concepts. Fifth Gear is an award-winning managed service provider that can manage your business needs with local and responsive IT support services. Fifth Gear specializes in fully managed or co-managed IT support, cybersecurity, cloud solutions, and superior customer care that can fit your budget. Call today and learn more at 615-606-3121 or visit us at fifthgearconcepts.com. Fifth Gear Technology Concepts, the latest insights and information in the world of IT.
The other unfortunate side of those technical issues is those Smith County East Nashville highlights did not load back in like I hope they would. So we're gonna have to pull those back up here shortly, guys. If you would, I'm gonna give it back to you for just a minute. While I do that, why don't y'all talk about the rest of the playoffs and what you saw from last night?
Yeah, honestly, it was quite surprising looking at the scoreboard, and I know we'll get to some more of the games here in shortly, but it was quite surprising. We saw a lot in the second round matchups. We saw a lot of high-scoring matchups, back and forth matchups. There was a couple of those this week, but there was actually some scores that got out of hand that I was not expecting.
Yeah, honestly, there were quite a bit of games out there that did not exactly turn out the way we had talked about on Wednesday. One thing that I was impressed with were the considering the weather and just how cold that was the participation and the attendance in the stands of the game that Chris and I were at. It was cold. It was blue cold. It was, thankfully there wasn't any wind.
Yeah, for sure about that one, because that wind would have been very brutal with temperatures, hovering around 35 at kickoff and getting around freezing by the time the game was over. So, yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to the East Nashville band for keeping my head bobbing the whole game, kind of keeping me warm.
Yeah, that's the thing about high school sports that you don't often think about is that, the players are out there, working and running and getting exercise and, building up heat, storing it in the helmet. Those band members are up there in the stands on those cold metal bleachers. Those cheerleaders are out there, trying to keep everybody going and people's blood pumping. It was I won't say it was a night not fit nor man for man nor beast. And you can decide which group I'm in on that. But it was a testament to how strong high school football is in the mid-state. Hey, I see a score. I see a score of a game we were at. But I also see that Chris seems to have frozen up again.
Yep.
Oh, this could turn out horribly, horribly wrong. And now his power's out.
Yeah.
Okay. Which may have been his problem to begin with.
It could have been.
Right,
You
Cam.
can't operate with power.
All right, Cam. We don't have highlights. Call an audible. Let's talk about this game. You were at it. Walk us through the East Nashville's win at Smith County.
It definitely did not start out the way that Coach Stewart and the Eagles had hoped. East Nashville wins the toss to start the game and elect to receive the football, as they like what they've been able to do on offense, especially last week against Waverly. East Nashville proceeds to fumble the opening kickoff. Smith County recovers about the 35-yard line. About 5 plays later, Caden Powell goes in for his first touchdown. Smith County leads 7-0 3 minutes into the game. East Nashville comes right back, goes down the field. They score with a Traquan Waters run into the end zone. 2-point try fails. Smith County still leads 7-6. And at that point, East Nashville began opening it up a little bit. As Zach Beard then completed one of his 3 touchdown passes of the night to push the East Nashville lead to 18-7. Smith County answered with another Caden Powell touchdown run. 2-point try failed. East Nashville leads 18-13 at that point in the second quarter. And then 21 seconds left in the first half, East Nashville scores on a pass to Trey Joyner. Zach Beard's second touchdown pass of the night pushes the East Nashville lead to 25-13 at halftime. Smith County comes right out of half and does exactly what they need to do. They go right down the field using Caden Powell, using Bryson Curry, physical tough, rugged style of offense. Go right down the field, score. 8:30 left in the third quarter. Smith County's cut the lead to 32-27. At that point, Smith County attempts an onside kick. It is recovered by Smith County. Smith County picks up a couple first downs. They get down to roughly about the 20-yard line. East Nashville's defense stymies, holds, score stays 32-27 at that point. And then East Nashville went on what a lot of people like to call a championship drive. It started about their own 20-yard line. It took up roughly about 7 minutes off the clock, and Zach Beard goes in from 5 yards out to push the 2-point try is good as well. Pushes the lead to 40-27. A late attempt by Caden Powell to try to get the Owls back in it was stymied on 4th and 2. East Nashville holds, and East Nashville is headed back to the semis for the second year in a row, as they won the semis last year and made their way to Chattanooga. And what an offensive performance! I mean, we talked about this team really struggling against Riverdale, against White House, against Smith County the first go around. They had outputs of 12, 14, and 14 in those 3 games. And then here we look in the second round, and then last night in the quarters, they've put up 40 in back-to-back weeks.
We talked about this on Wednesday, and we talked about that 1-point win and the lack of offense or the emergence of defense in that game. What was it about East Nashville this game really that allowed them? Because this Smith County defense has been tough all year long. What was it that you saw out of this East Nashville offense that got them going?
Really, it was I didn't get a chance to see the first matchup, but according to what everybody said, East Nashville tried a physical run style, tried to match Smith County's physicality, really wanted to turn it into a slugfest, and they wound up losing in that matchup. But in my interview after the game, as Coach Stewart mentioned, they're on pace. I believe Trey Joyner is roughly 15 yards away now, and I believe Frank Gordon went over the 1,000-yard mark. First time in school history that they may have 2,000-yard receivers, and they used them last night. Zach Beard, I'm not sure there's a better senior leader, and I expected I didn't really expect this many points, but I expected a matchup of Zach Beard versus Caden Powell, and that's pretty much what it turned into last night, as Caden Powell had 4 touchdown runs, and Zach Beard had 3 touchdowns passing and 2 rushing. So he accounted for 5 of the 6 touchdowns for East Nashville. And really, it's just the senior leadership of Zach Beard getting the playmakers in space really was a big beneficial to East Nashville last night. They ran a lot of slants, a lot of out and ups, but really getting Trey Joyner and Frank Gordon the ball in space is going to be good no matter who you're playing.
Welcome back, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Folks, thank you for your patience. The power went out here just momentarily, so it killed everything I had. Make a deal here. We don't have the highlights for these pulled up, but we will show you those on our YouTube channel later this morning. Check those out for those and the interviews that Cam did last night. They'll be there. So apologies for the difficulties, but you will get to see those a little later today. Let's go ahead and look at that bracket, because East Nashville's headed to Covington next week for their semifinal. Well, Alcoa will travel to Giles County.
Yeah, this East Nashville team is you really don't know exactly how good they can be now. I believe that Smith County game was right at the time that they were going through their internal issues, and it seems like that since that time their offense has found its footing. They've got their sophomore center knows, what I understand is that those guys do everything together. They eat together. They text each other. They're in group together. Coach keeps them together at all times, and I think that that's beginning to pay off. I think you're starting to see, that team come back and coalesce. They have a heck of a matchup with Covington coming up. I think that now last year, I believe it was Dyersburg that they played on Black Friday.
Yep.
Dyersburg goes out to Covington. Um, this is going to be a heck of a matchup, and they're going to have to go all the way to West Tennessee to it. If they're going to make it to Chattanooga, they got to do it by way of West Tennessee.
Yeah, and it's a freshman center, sophomore right guard that East Nashville has plugged in there. And talking to Coach Stewart last night, he feels like they've definitely found their footing and they're starting to mature a little bit, a little quicker than what most young kids mature. So this East Nashville team struggled for a couple of weeks, but they definitely seem to have hit the ground with a little bit more momentum even before than what they had in the start of the year.
Yeah, they've had to grow up fast in these last few weeks, and what better way to do that than to have some postseason football experience under your belt as a freshman and a sophomore? So,
yeah, and I asked Coach Stewart last night. I said, "I get turkey on Thanksgiving, you get football practice." He said, "I'll trade that any year."
East Robertson's historic season comes to an end in 2A in the quarterfinal round as the Indians fall 35-7 to Tyner. The Rams just a little bit too much for the Indians in round number 3. East Robertson will finish 11-2. Tyner 12-1 as they advance.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
Ken. No, after you.
I picked Tyner in this matchup because of the fact that they had been here before in school history, and just reading some posts from some East Robertson players last night, and I commented on one of them. Unfortunately, football is not a sport that a program can be built overnight. It's not something that you can just have one great year, and you see it every once in a while, but it's really every once in a while. And to build a program like what Coach Brooks is trying to do, you need a little bit of foundation. And I feel like the Indians laid a lot of foundation this year. They lose a couple good seniors, but they bring back quite a bit as well. Bring back a 1,000-yard rusher next year. And as I put it to Shelton Montgomery, take pride in being the alpha, because without the alpha, there's no omega. So Coach Brooks definitely took a huge step in laying the foundation for what could be a really juggernaut program at the 2A level.
Yeah, it really just came down to some opportunities that East Robertson just couldn't capitalize on early. I believe their first 2 drives, they ended up in Tyner territory, but turned the ball over on downs, if I'm not mistaken. Josh Jackson had a fairly decent game. He was 13-18 for 148. East outrushed them on the ground. They got 167 yards rushing, but they just couldn't cash in. Zeke Prince had his game. He had 126, but just too much Tyner. I think, as Cam said earlier, this is the one of the first times that East Robertson has matched athlete for athlete with a team, and Tyner had more athletes at this point. But what a year for the Indians. What a year for Coach Brooks. This program has nothing but sunny skies and a bright horizon for this team. These guys have, it's just something that they have to be proud of.
How that 2A bracket shakes out now, Tyner will host York Institute, who won 35-21 over Monterey. And on the western half, it's Riverside at Huntington. Riverside a 7-point winner at Lewis County. Huntington a 14-3 win over Union City. So a couple of 1 seeds and a couple of 2s getting to the semifinals this time.
Yeah, one thing to note in that Monterey matchup, Mason Bowman went down, I believe, late in the second quarter with an ankle injury. I do believe he tried to play through it, but definitely slowed him down a bit in that matchup. It was 20-14 at halftime, York. Tyner's got, in my opinion, Tyner's probably got to be the team to beat at this point, especially with the way that defense is performing. Alcoa scored 42 points on them, and I don't think anybody else has scored more than 7 or scored more. Westmoreland put 17 on them, but they're averaging giving up like 7 a game other than that one game. So, Tyner's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Gordonsville season also comes to an end, 41-6 at Clay County. They were hoping to recreate some magic from last week's win at South Pittsburgh, but it just didn't work out for the Tigers. They fall to 9-4 with a loss in Clay County, now 12-1 after they've beaten Gordonsville for the second time in 4 weeks.
Yeah, Tom told us on Wednesday how dangerous this Clay County team was. I knew I expected a much tighter game, but evidently this Clay County team is absolutely loaded.
Has anybody got some hot sauce for Alice Crow?
Oh, and it begins.
Yeah.
No, I said on Wednesday that I would gladly take the Crow if it happens. And Clay County, when you haven't been there in so long, 37 years, they haven't been there since '85. One of two things is normally what's going to happen. You're either going to come out and you're going to be wide-eyed and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, or you're going to come out and the whole town's going to be behind you and you're going to ride the rocket pretty much of momentum. And that's definitely what happened. Is Clay jumped on them early, guys. They jumped on them early, and Gordonsville just never really got their footing. And I had one of my former coaching friends that's at Gordonsville now mentioned that he said the kids seemed like they didn't want to be there last night. So, and that's unfortunate for Gordonsville, but a good first season for Stephen Jackson as a head coach there at Gordonsville. They lose 25 seniors. They lose Albritton. They lose 2 really good defensive ends in Will Dudney and Bryson Greer. But this Gordonsville team is going to be back. Got a very favorable region. So other than this Clay County team, which, who's to say Clay County doesn't start a little dynasty of their own, because they have a three-headed monster up there in the coaching staff. They have 3 coaches that have, seen playoff football in multiple rounds of playoff football.
Yeah. At Sweet Baby Ray's, Cam, it goes good on wings. I've never had crow wings. You'll have to let us know how it goes.
Speaking of barbecue sauce, Scott, the ribs that you had last night, have you finished those off yet or no?
Oh, no. No. That's waiting for kickoff today.
Okay. All right.
Oh, my gosh.
So the 1A semifinals are set. It's Coalfield at Clay County and McKenzie at Memphis Arts and Sciences. Memphis Academy of Science and Engineering, MASC, a 26-24 winner over Peabody. McKenzie defeated Fayetteville 20-18. Coalfield, no trouble. Oliver Springs 56-0.
Guys, you have to start thinking. I know they're outside of our coverage area, but at this point, we're kind of going to cover everybody. I think McKenzie, can they finally get it done? They've been to state championship games. They've been there. They've had their heart broken multiple times. And most of the time, it's by a team called South Pittsburgh. But can the Rebels finally get it done for Coach Wade Comer? I definitely think that they're the clear-cut favorite here, as that McKenzie-Fayetteville game was a classic, guys. I believe McKenzie kicked a short field goal to win the game at the buzzer. Man, it's what a time to be a Rebel from McKenzie. And don't sleep on that Mace team, though. That was very surprising that they pulled off the win against Peabody.
Yeah, I was going to say, that to me was, you asked me for surprise. That was one of them. But I tell you what, every year there's one team that catches fire. Every year there's at least one team that you never think is going to make it. That could be the Clay County team this year.
Yeah, very well could be. But it's all 1 seeds in the semifinals and 1A as well. So, the teams that were here were factored in to be contenders, and that's the way it's worked out. Before we get over to Division II, let's hear real quick from Innovate Medical. On to those Division II semifinals. Congratulations to Friendship Christian. They're 12-0, and Chattanooga bound as they beat USJ 24-20. The Commanders will play for a gold ball in 2 weeks.
Yeah. We go ahead, Scott. I went first all the other times, so you go.
Well, the Commanders were outgained in this game. When we knew USJ's offense was potent, and they were outgained 350 to 274. They gave up 253 yards through the air, uh, and they also gave up 7 of 11 third down efficiency. But guys, 268 rushing yards for the Commanders, 244, excuse me, 244 of those coming from Tyson Walcott. The Commanders did what the Commanders do. They ruled the ground, and they played tough defense. This is a team on a mission, and the good thing is also for this team is they generated 2 turnovers, and they only had like 2 penalties. They played a clean game, and if they hadn't, it could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the week, Chris, you said that this one was fairly easy to pick, and I told you that it wasn't for me, and this was part of the reason why the offense for USJ is a juggernaut, and it's kind of honestly it could be very beneficial for Friendship that they faced an offense like this going forward. But Tyson Walker, Friendship did what Friendship does. They ran the football. They controlled the clock. You run the football, you control the clock. You pretty much control the game, and that's pretty much what they did. Unfortunately, I do think that they will be without senior J.J. Pernod in Chattanooga. That's unfortunate as he went out with an injury last night. But this Friendship Christian team at the start of the year, I put a little feeler out on Twitter about them putting in some extra work, and I believe it was Devin Lively that commented on it and said, "We ain't busting," and they made it. Now, what are you going to do with it? That's the question.
At the end of the day, they don't ask you how, just how many. And a win's a win. They'll take it, and so will I. So I did pick Friendship Christian to win. I mean, I may have said it was a little easier, but hey, they're going to Chattanooga, and that's the whole point. 24-20 that final. Who they're going to face? Nashville Christian. 54-20 winners over Jackson Christian. The Eagles are rolling as well as they rolled over the other Eagles from Jackson Christian in the semifinal. They're headed to Chattanooga to face Friendship Christian in that championship game.
Huge night. Huge for Jared Curtis. 309 yards passing, 5 scores, 3 to Donovan Smith, 2 to James Warmbrod. Also ran for a score. This game was 14-3 early in the second quarter, and then the Eagles of Nashville Christian Eagles, the Nashville Eagles, went on a 33-0 run. What we just saw between USJ and Friendship with USJ throwing the ball, we're about to see the same type of contrast and styles again in the Blue Cross Bowl. This is going to be a fun game, guys.
Yeah, I was trying to foreshadow that without spoiling it a little bit, but the offenses for USJ and Nashville Christian are very similar in what they want to do. They both like to sling it around quite a bit, and Friendship seemed to handle USJ decently. Yards are yards. As long as you're not putting up points, it don't really hurt you. It's going to be interesting to see if Friendship can contain Curtis in the pocket, keep him from scrambling, and get some pressure on him in that game. That could be a huge factor in that game. And then can Nashville Christian slow down the running attack? Because, guys, Tyson Walcott's silently had a great season. And then Garrett Weekly is also a dual threat quarterback. He can throw it and run it as well.
That is going to be a very good ball game in the afternoon on December 1st. That's a 3 Eastern kick between Friendship Christian and Nashville Christian down at Finley Stadium in Chattanooga, and one to certainly look forward to for both those programs. Really, really fun afternoon on Thursday with those Division II championship games for sure.
Yep.
The ones that'll kick us off will be AA, but CPA is going to be back there again. They win 28-13 at Chattanooga Christian, and CPA 8-5, but don't let the record fool you. And they've been on a roll in this postseason. And Chattanooga Christian finishes the year at 10-3.
Yeah, the Lions survived the early turnovers in this game. They were fortunate to get them back. Defense didn't break. Held CCS to 122 yards rushing on 31 attempts, and that's their bread and butter. They love to run the ball. Javoris Havis did get his 121 yards, but that was about it for the offense. Lions get 215 on the ground. Asher Keck 117, including a 43-yard run that set up the first score of the game. This CPA team is peaking at the right time.
Who would they play? It's another rematch. Lipscomb Academy rolls out of Knoxville-Webb 44-7. This game was 7-7 early in the second quarter, but Lipscomb Academy asserted their dominance and got out of there with a convincing win, and they improved to 12-0 as Knoxville-Webb suffers its one and only loss of the year.
Yeah, I was telling my dad these matchups last night, and he goes, "Well, who's playing in Division II AA?" I said, "Well, for the 1,756th time, we get Lipscomb versus CPA." But I believe most people would be okay with watching that for 1,756 times because, guys, Lipscomb trailed CPA 21-16 at halftime of that first matchup. I'm not saying that CPA is going to win that game, but most teams tend to fare better in the second matchup. That also includes Lipscomb. Lipscomb did turn it on in the second half. But Ingle Martin's guys, if there's anything we've learned about CPA and state championship games, don't count them out.
Yeah, this is the fifth straight appearance for CPA in the Blue Cross Bowl. But let's talk about Lipscomb for a minute in this game. I think it speaks something when the sideline starts murmuring that it's the second quarter and Lipscomb is tied. I think it says something about how. I mean, did they? It's like everybody expects Lipscomb to come out and be up 21-0, before anybody sneezes. This team is that good. I mean, this team defensively, it says something about your team when people are surprised at a score in the second quarter that you're tied with somebody. They held Webb to 153 yards of total offense, only 58 yards on the ground, and 26% on third down. It was a dominating performance once again by a defense that I would put up with anybody in the state. I would put up against anybody in the neighboring states, quite frankly.
And they proved that. They had a huge win over Thompson, which is, if I'm not mistaken, rolling in Alabama.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's that bracket update. The CPA Lipscomb Academy will kick us off at 11 a.m. Eastern on December 1st. And for their third straight meeting in the championship game against each other. And
it just so happens, rubber match, and could be the last time it will be the last time we see it in a state championship game, at least
for a couple of years.
For a couple of years at least.
I mean, yeah, Hank Brown had a pedestrian performance. He was only 15 to 20 for 150 yards and 4 touchdowns last night. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with it?
That's efficiency.
Yeah.
I mean, that's we've just come to expect so much out of Lipscomb. But again, like you said, Cam, they still have to play this game on December 1st. And this is going to, CPA gave them a game last time. And CPA comes in with, really all the pressure is on Lipscomb.
Every bit of it.
Yep. Totally agreed. Well, AAA was not without a lot of drama last night. NBA, a 1-point winner over McCallie to keep their championship hopes alive and advance to Chattanooga 28-27. Big Red now 12-0, but boy, McCallie gave it everything they had.
Yeah, guys, I'm just real quick. We tried to tell you so. And I know you haven't seen the second score yet, but we tried to tell you so. This was 2 of the best matchups in the state, regardless of classification, and they proved why.
Yeah, McCallie gets, they're down 28-14, get a score with 45 seconds left, go for 2, it gets broken up. So instead of tying the game, they went for the win. I think that tells you a little bit about NBA. One, McCallie felt fortunate to be in that situation to go for 2 and not try to do it in overtime. I think the second thing it tells you is that, NBA's defense will, steps up, when they're pushed. Really, Marcel Reed had a good night. Big Red scored 21 straight points in the, I believe in the third. actually starting in that with 36 seconds left in the first half when they tied the game up because they were down to McCauley 14-7 right before the break. Just another one of those things that makes you, like as Tom said, makes you look at this NBA team and say, are they a team of destiny this year?
They'll take on Baylor in what would be termed a controversial finish, if nothing else, because Brentwood Academy had a chance to win the game on the final play. They get inside the 1 yard line on a pass and ruled out of bounds about 6 inches short of a game-winning touchdown. A lot of video circulating on the internet about the finish of this game and the call that the official made. BA certainly has a gripe. I mean, it's close from what you could tell, but
yeah, regardless of the angle, they're all bang bang. And then unfortunately, referees in high school ball they don't have the option to go back on an instant replay. It is exactly as I said, bang bang. I mean, you call it one way or the other. And one thing that if anybody missed anything last night as far as that play goes, it's the fans being in that corner of the end zone. That is embarrassing, is what it is. That cannot happen, and people wonder why referees don't want nobody wants to referee.
Yeah, shout out to the Brentwood Academy kids in that situation too. They handle themselves very well in that situation. Maybe calming fans down, honestly, and which
honestly, you shouldn't look to 17, 18-year-olds to be the voice of reason when you have adults around. Most certainly. When you do that, when you're in that position, there is something wrong with the way things are going. But that is a testament to how they are coaching those kids and teaching those kids over at Brentwood Academy. I'll give them that. Your boy, what a difference a few weeks makes. I mean, Brentwood Academy was in this position with Innsworth, and get that pulled a rabbit out of the hat there. Just couldn't quite get the rabbit out in this one, and I think that the fact that all the angles that we have are still kind of head scratchers and nothing is conclusive tells you how close that play was.
Yeah.
And therefore, by that manner, then you go with, that's what you have an official there for.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, for all your, pearl clutching or gnashing of teeth, it was a play that it came down to it. You don't want to be in that position. Don't allow a touchdown with 23 seconds left.
Right.
Monumental performance by Deuce Scott. 145, 3 touchdowns. BA had the lead at 32-25 in the third, only to see Baylor reel off 15 points. That's another thing. It doesn't come down to one play. It came down to the fourth quarter is what it came down to, and Baylor managed to pull it out. Whit Muschamp is a heck of a quarterback. And, NBA is going to have their hands full. But unfortunate that a game has to end with this kind of circumstances. And, what can you say other than, good on you, Brentwood Academy seniors and team leaders. Congratulations to Baylor. Would have loved to have seen a Brentwood Academy NBA final.
Yep.
Yeah, and just real quick, I don't think this is the last time we see this matchup. Whit Muschamp, a junior, George McIntyre, sophomore. Definitely, if they play in the regular season next year with the new regional alignments and whatnot, this one could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the Baylor Brentwood Academy's not going away. They've got a lot coming back, and with McIntyre coming back for his junior season, that's going to be very fun to watch that team in 2023. So nothing to hang their head about. They put up a great effort against Baylor, but come up 5 points short, and it's now Baylor and NBA for all the marbles in Chattanooga, and they'll cap off that December 1st slate of games at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Man, you talking about fun? Week 10, I believe, is what week it was when NBA played Baylor in Nashville. And back and forth. NBA had the ball last. They scored. 42-34 final at NBA. Just if this game is anything like that first one, along with our other matchups that we have on Thursday, we're going to have a lot of fun on Thursday.
And we're going to need oxygen on Friday.
We may not have a lot of time for that, because if some other teams win, we're going to have more championship games to cover on Friday and Saturday in Chattanooga as well. So stay tuned for that. Guys, that is as much damage as we can do for a scoreboard show for this year. Honestly, we won't have a ton of games next week, so depending on, we'll put a lot of those highlights in our Mid-State 48 for the Blue Cross Bowl preview show, so you won't miss those.
And a big thank you to Fifth Gear Technology Concepts for sponsoring our scoreboard show. The good news is that they will be back to sponsor us for next year. So we're appreciative of all of our sponsors. Fifth Gear, though, especially for this particular show that they sponsor.
Yeah, very thankful for that, and thankful for all of you who have tuned in this morning and all the scoreboard shows during the season. I hate that we had some glitches here, unfortunately, this morning, but what can you do sometimes? But we will talk to you guys on the Mid-State 48 this week, so make sure to check that out beginning Wednesday morning. For Cam and for Scott, I'm Chris. We will see you next week before the Division I semifinals. So take care, everybody.
Honey, heat up the ribs.